Kia ora, whaia.
Hey, kia ora, kia ora. Nice.
Thanks for coming in, eh?
My pleasure to be here. When you're able to be open and frank in your discussions, there's a trust factor.
I don't have a lot of sympathy for people who build their houses on top of cliffs. Cliffs grow backwards.
There was no accountability to Māori.
Well, there is now. You're in charge.
That's right.
Rightio.
All good.
Thank you for coming in to see the koromatua or the Konehira Tamaki Makaura's office.
Yes, it's my
Now
privilege.
my picking my kaki my.
Kia ora.
We go back a long time. People
Yes,
don't
we do.
realise how long we've known each other. In fact, your granddaughter wasn't alive when we were mates.
No, she wasn't actually. And you're to blame for
Yeah, it is.
the length of time I've been in health.
Yeah.
That's how long we've known each other.
Water at
Yeah.
the Auckland District Health Board there.
Yes,
I
it
wandered
was.
in.
It was.
Appointed
yeah.
as mayor to sort out the mess that they were making of building the hospital, which we did get it finished on time and
Yes.
on budget.
We did.
And
yeah.
the first time we met, I said, well, what are we doing in Māori Health? And you came in and said that there wasn't really anyone properly in charge of it. And, then I said,
There was no accountability to Māori.
well, there is now. You're in charge.
That's right. I am. And you're in charge of this city.
Yeah, I know. And it happened just like that. It was about that quickly.
Yeah.
And you're still doing it. It's so cool. I mean,
Yes, I am. And you better be still doing yours as well. So
meaning-
there, look after the city.
well, I'm here to look after the people in the city too.
Yes,
You
yes.
know, I'm here to worry about the ratepayers, especially the ones who are finding it a bit hard, actually.
Yeah.
Think about those. It's interesting, really, when we had our all the debates about setting rates in the annual plan. The councillors who are representing the poor areas wanted to actually increase the rates because they said, oh, we need to give them more by charging them more. I'm thinking, man,
Yeah.
you really go to South Auckland? There's not a single person that I know down there wants to pay any more for
No.
anything.
That's right. And
so-
neither should they.
No. So you've got to keep on top of that. We're known to sort of speak bluntly.
Yes,
and I mean, your thing started off, it's a great story, that you started saying kia ora when you're in the post office.
Yeah,
And
interesting.
you got into trouble over that. And you
Yes, I did.
I think it's important. People know where you stand on things when you say them, and I think it's important that I let them know too.
Well, that's the trust factor. When you're able to be open and frank in your discussions, there's a trust factor. And that's something that we do have, is a trust factor. Because we've always been open and frank with each other in all the years that we've known each other.
And there's been some difficult conversations too.
Oh, yes.
And I mean, you've got to have those. I mean,
Yes.
I think that sometimes not being open is very damaging. We just had experience with water care. First of all, denied, then admitted that they'd made a secret payment to an iwi group in Waikato. I don't know much about that, and it might well have been a good idea. But once you make it secret,
Yeah,
it smells like an old fish.
that's right.
And
That's
so
right.
you've got to be open about things, and I think that's pretty important.
Well, that's been our experience ever since we met, is open, frank discussions.
Yeah, and I like that. And thanks for coming in. You've got a lot of awards here. I'm very impressed. She's not the damehood and the whole thing. This is impressive, I was
Well,
just saying.
I need to acknowledge my Croatian side. There's
Yeah,
a
I
lot-
like that you do that too.
I do. I am.
Because Jones, you and Jones here are about the only ones that do. They all have a whole long list of things, and I'm thinking, there's got to be a bit of Pākehā there somewhere, brother.
You're talking about Shane Jones, aren't you?
Well, yeah, Shane's good. He represents his.
Yes,
he says
both
I'm
of
a
us,
Dally,
Yep.
Dally Maori, and
Yeah.
and all my mates from up north is like that.
Yeah.
And everywhere, everyone's got Maori in the family somewhere up north.
Just last week, we had a Croatian women's conference here in Auckland, and they came from all over.
Yeah, well, his father was the first one to take a Maori wife up there, and And my family go back a long way up through North too and through the Kaipara, and there's more mixture of everything in there as well.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of orders, very impressive. I haven't even had an order of fish and chips out of the government yet, but you've got quite a few of them.
Well, that's because you won't pay for the newspaper to wrap it up in.
The newspapers try and wrap me up. That's part of it. So how do you think I'm going?
I think you're doing brilliantly. I came here to meet with you today, and a Māori man passing me in the street, kia ora, how are you? Good, I've come to have a kōrero with the mayor. And he said, oh yeah, he's a pretty good guy, he's neat. Oh. And I said, oh, ne? And he goes, yep, and carried on walking.
I like to think that I can mix at all levels. I think that's pretty important. You can't represent 1.8 million people and only know the rich people or only know the poor people. You've got to know them all, because they all have different views, and I've certainly got 20 councillors with very different views.
Yes, and you had the same with the area health boards.
Oh, yeah, they're a pretty random mix of people too.
Yes, yes.
And we always got a majority to do the right thing there.
And you did very well in supporting Māori health, because we're still there today.
Well, I think that that's hauora is an important part of everything, and it has to be thought through.
It is.
And it has to be made available to everybody. And also the people have got to learn the lessons that there's a fair bit you can do to yourself to look after yourself too. So I'm into education and fixing people, but, if I can educate them so they don't get into a situation where they're unwell, or they don't get in a situation where they can't afford their rates, then that's better than... fend off the problem rather than having to fix it, is something that I greatly believe in.
True.
And we've got Tihukura, the Independent Māori Statutory Board at the council. I think it's actually works pretty well. I quite like it, actually.
Yes, it is.
There's great debate about representation, but they're trying to, in some ways, force European democracy onto Māori. The Independent Māori Statutory Board members are chosen by ways that Māori find comfortable to find that. And, I mean, they didn't have a vote to choose Queenie.
No. We had discussions. It was a good...
I'm sure there was a good debate, but it was the way you did it, not
discussion,
the way... You didn't force that on you.
No.
I think that rather than force a divisive debate... voting on whether or not to have Māori wards, the Tihukura model might be something that could be thought of elsewhere. It works pretty well here, to be honest. That in some ways they're more sensible than some of the ones that I get sent from the rest of them too. But
but we have to have a voice, otherwise we breach te tiriti o Waitangi, and we don't want to do that, because you don't need to do that at all.
No, we've got to learn to live with each other, and we are learning to live with each other. And I think one or two of the things at the moment are just going to make things a bit more awkward for no particular advantage.
No.
I mean, I don't have policies in order to get to score points off another policy. My policies were just sensible things. Stop wasting money. Finish the city rail link. Geez, if we live long enough, and
build another bridge.
Well, that was the latest thing to stop them wasting money on a tunnel more than anything else. But speed up the traffic without spending a lot of money. We don't have good modern signals on the traffic. I want to take back control of the CCOs, and the last thing was get more use of the harbour. We're going to have a free swimming pool for everybody in the harbour. And now there's a lot of kids in South Auckland don't go swimming in the harbour. We've got to get them more involved, But there's a lot of free things out that window there. And everyone, people in Avondale want a $20 million swimming pool. I'll give them a free bus and come down here and swim at Kohimarumara. It's important we get young people recognising the outdoors and the wonderful part of our city. Climb the manga.
There is beautiful, beautiful maunga to climb, beautiful Waitemata.
When we had the COVID settle down, my wife was very ill at the time, And you know she's quite a frail lady. You know her and love her too.
Yes, I do.
I suppose.
I do.
You two are very good friends.
Yes, we are.
But she's very frail, and she was particularly ill at the time there, and I was looking after her. And healthcare should be available to everybody, including my wife, but including also Mary and what we've done with them. Mary, you were there to be a strong voice for that.
Yes.
But not only in the actual solving, but in the prevention of it. I mean, there's a lot of people who have got lifestyles that are aiming at dialysis.
Yeah, that's right.
It's appalling.
It is. It is.
You don't have to increase your chances of it. And I kind of worry we've really got the Kaori message, no smoking, but but obesity and dialysis, very hard to have one without the other.
Yes, absolutely. And as well as that, my Māori health role is to support doctors and nurses and social workers and all those who are working in the sector to understand that for Māori health, it's not only about the patient, but it's about the whānau of the patient as well that offers healing.
Yeah.
So we've got accommodation in our hospitals here so that whānau can come, and the whānau comes and their presence alone is helpful to the doctors, to the nurses in supporting the patient.
Well, it's uplifting.
And it leads to shorter bed stays.
That's true.
Which is economically sound to support.
And Pākehā are learning off that as well.
But
and now it's more popular to see them coming.
You were one of the first boards to agree with it at Green Lane.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I was happy to see that. I mean, if people believe it's going to make them healthy, that's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And not everything is a scientific solution to everything. I remember that there was a debate at a time there where we're all going to die. And there are some people, some of the doctors, about 50% of the doctors want to treat you right up till the day you're going to die. And 50% of them realise maybe you're going to die, mate. We'll make life better for you.
Yeah.
And I can remember we had one board meeting particularly, and you were there and spoke a lot about it, that we said, today we're just going to talk about end of life.
Yeah.
And how we make that dignified and pain-free for those people that are going to have an end of life. And the Herald wrote an article in the paper that day saying, what sort of a chairman of a hospital talks about death? And I'm thinking actually quite a thoughtful one did.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like two lessons there. One is even doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get punished for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, this is a country where no good turn goes unpunished.
That's right.
So we've got to change that.
Yeah.
Okay, now you and I found ourselves on the same side yet again just recently because
Yes.
Jacinda was trying to ram a concrete monstrosity down the throats of Auckland
Yes.
out at the Parnell Rose Gardens.
Yeah.
For a memorial for a very sad occasion when they flew into the site.
But we were not protesters, we were protectors of a 200-year-old pohutukawa tree.
Plus the fact that whole area
Your Uncle
had
Basil.
its own history.
Yes,
And the
is.
history did not involve Air New Zealand.
No.
It didn't involve Air New Zealand, and there was a small story I told you about if they wanted to go down there, because I always thought if they're going to have a memorial for Erebus, it should be out of the airport.
Yeah. Well, they have got one at the airport.
And that's where it's in.
They've got one at Erebus. They've got one in Christchurch.
Yeah, right. But we didn't need one in Parnell
No, we
Rose
didn't.
Gardens, because that at Judges Bay was where my father grew up with his family, and my grandfather was quite well off. Unfortunately, he lost a lot in the 1929 crash.
Oh.
And so there was not a penny in the household when I arrived, unfortunately, but I knew that it was my job to restore them. But the thing was, he had him and 4 brothers had a good lifestyle there. And while he was at school, his next elder brother was Basil. He built a plane while he was at grammar school, and it flew. And he went on to become a very famous aviator. He was, when World War II, he was in the RAAF, that's the Australian Air Force. And he went on to start East West Airlines in Australia, which still runs.
Oh, really?
And if you go to the city of Tamworth, the square in the middle of Tamworth is Basil Brown Square, named after all he did for aviation. And he grew up in Judges Bay. So if they wanted to put something to do with aviation, we've got a Ministry of Cultural something or other there, or history.
Cultural heritage, yeah.
Cultural heritage. Yeah, and that's nice to have their Prime Minister if you're thinking about things we don't need to pay for. But they didn't even bother to find out what that there was actually an aeronautical history worth celebrating of New Zealander, born and raised in Judges Bay. Yeah. And so maybe you and I might go and put a little plaque on a tree there one day.
We can do.
So here's where Basil Brown grew up.
Don't forget, you'll have to ask yourself for permission to do that, because we'll have to come to you and your council.
I'd never ask a question where you might get an answer you don't want. Just do it and apologise later. Yeah. If we get it up there, they'll have to form a group and say why it shouldn't be there. So. But it was a good thing we worked on it, because as it turned out, the whole cliff fell down. Oh. And I've been an engineer here for a very long time, and look out the window there, and I don't have a lot of sympathy for people who build their houses on top of cliffs and then want to come and get the council to pay for the fact that the cliff fell down. Cliffs grow backwards. Yeah, they do. You know, if you want to build on a cliff, go back a long way, you know, because it's going to come. You're never going to get more garden. You're going to get less at some stage. I can't give it a date. Yeah. And when we had that series of dreadful rainfalls, and so if they had that monument, it would be hanging out in the air like a
it would have gone over the side. It would have gone over the side.
So there you go. There's another message to Wellington.
Hurricane Gabrielle came. Yeah. But once Gabrielle hit the shores of Aotearoa, Gabrielle met Tawhiri Mātea. That's who took that down.
There's a story too.
Tawhiri Mātea.
Okay, well, we've got a generous number of iwi, 19 of them, but I'm very, I think we enjoy pretty good relationships with them, especially Ngāti Whātua ki Airaki, but you sometimes get a bit grumpy because you're Ngāti Whātua ki Kaipara.
There's only one Ngāti Whātua.
I realise.
And that's Ngāti Whātua from Tamaki to Maunganui.
I know that. But
it was, the government decided to...
Yeah. That's, again, a lot of things that come out of Wellington cause more trouble than good.
Oh, that's true.
And
including some politicians.
Yeah, we won't name them, but they've been... One of the things that I've never had a problem with, but a lot of people get quite upset about, is co-governance.
Yes, but we have an excellent relationship with co-governance. And a perfect example of that, of course, is Kaipātiki in Parakai.
And your mokopuna.
And my mokopuna
works for
the council and is responsible to look after it for both the council and her Ngāti Whātuatanga.
There you go.
That's co-governance in action.
I don't know why people were so scared of it.
Oh, they're scared of anything that moves.
That's good.
I know. Co-governance.
Tahitanga.
Yes, it is.
Well, I think thank you for coming in and using the time.
It's my pleasure.
I don't know if there's anything else you want to throw at me, but you've always thrown hard questions at me and I've always answered them. That's good.
All good. All good.
I'll ask you some silly little questions. Rugby or league?
Oh, league.
So you're the Kiwi Ferns, not the Black Ferns then?
Oh, no, I'm league.
Okay. Car or bus?
Oh, well, I'd prefer the bus because somebody else is driving it. But I love trains.
Now, that's a good thing to say as well. And while you're thinking about it, I'm horrified by these attacks on the bus drivers. And so I've put aside $5 or $6 million out of the council fund to provide protection for the bus drivers there. And the bus drivers were called into AT to be told about this just recently. And the head of the Tramways Union is an old rugby mate of mine from Te Papapa, which is a good rough area that I came.
Yeah.
And he said, Brownie, come with us, And I said, all the boys know you've put the money aside to save them, and that's good. Don't tell them at AT you're coming. And so I came in, and all the bus drivers go in, and the AT managers, they've got managers for Africa in there, and they've got titles, amazing titles, like even Idi Amin didn't have such good titles. And the fellas saw me coming in with the bus drivers, and I could see them thinking, bloody hell. And so I didn't say anything, and everyone behaved properly, and they are taking it seriously, and they're going to get the protection to the bus drivers. But it's a sad day that we have to protect bus drivers.
It is a sad day. It is a sad day,
and
that we have to that we have to protect honest people who are running their own business, but they're being robbed, and those are sad
No, it's
days.
a bad thing. I think in some ways there is an overrepresentation accidentally of younger Maori in that, and we've got to actually own up and say that. My sickly white Liberal councillors would never say that. But in fact, you got to face the good and the bad amongst ourselves, and there is a place again, and you're quite happy. You tackle those issues.
Yeah.
You can't sweep them under the table because it just ends up in more damage.
Neither should we.
No. Right, next one, red wine or white wine?
Oh, definitely Pinot Gris.
Pinot Gris?
Absolutely.
Well, there you go.
Pinot Gris.
Pinot Gris.
Yes.
Right, I've got that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have actually bought you a couple of Pinot Gris over the years, I must admit. But I thought the public would like to know that, you see. I'm a rosé guy. That's my...
Rosé?
Oh, well,
I can't imagine you sitting in a kumara patch drinking rosé.
Well, I was, because in fact, my son's spot on the Kaipara is called Kumara Patch Farm. And we set up there drinking rosé not so long ago. I got into the rosé thing because on my mother's side, my great-grandfather was a Frenchman. And he came out and settled in the northern Kaipara back in the days when Ngāti Whātua and Ngāpuhi separated about, and they had a bit of dead land, and they brought some unknowing Pākehās in there, didn't realise they'd gone to be the meat between two angry sandwiches. But and we had his 160th reunion of his arrival a while ago, and he went to Whakapirau.
Okay.
Which is, that means rotten canoe.
Yeah.
And he came out and he built a church there, and then his bit of land he was given was not good, and he built a house there, and he worked out after a while it was not a good bit, so he took the house there and dragged it down to the Kaipara, put it on a barge that he made, floated it down to Pāhi, dragged it up the hill into Pāhi, and we all did that. We got on a oyster farming. We all followed down North Whānau, we all followed down there, we climbed up the hill, and the boat, and the house was still there, and it had some hippies living on it. Oh. So there you go. Wow. And it was quite a happy house. Didn't have all this code compliance and everything else, just a well-built carry house. It's still good.
Nice.
And so that's an interesting story.
Yeah, nice. A good story. Good.
And so that's where the French connection comes from, and so that's rosé. You see?
Oh, I might try it.
Very cold on a hot day. Very good.
I might try it.
Yeah, well, if you come around home again, you'll get one of those whether you like it or not.
Okay, I will.
Okay, all right.
Good one.
So thanks very much, Whaia.
Thank you. And I hope you're serious about staying where you are to look after the people of this city.
Well, thank you for that. I think that sort of encouragement.
Yes.
I'm thinking of giving it a crack. Mrs. B's not entirely convinced of this yet, but...
maybe her and I could have a rosé together.
Yeah, there's a thought. She's got a soft spot for you, and I know you love her too, so
yes,
that's really
good. I do. Okay.
Thank you.
You.
Gotta call that what do they call that when you get the end? That's a cut or something.
Cut.